This project started 5 years ago. It was a community orchard. It came out of the Transition Town's Waiheke response, and we planted up over 30 fruit trees in here. It went on for about 2 years with minimal maintenance, and the grass took off and became outrageous. So we worked with the council and got them to start maintaining it for us, and they were mowing it every few weeks. Then at the beginning of the year, I got hold of Andy Cambius's manual, the manual for creating a community food forest on public land. And I read that and thought, well, we need to do that on Waiheke, it's obvious. By then we had 5-year-old fruit trees, well established as you can see, and our job then became finding a way to replace the grass with species of our choice and to start underplanting it with all of those other layers that weren't present. So we came in over a period of 2 weeks, and we moved 30 cubic meters of mulch over this area, which is about 300 square meters. And then we seeded in. About a week later, the rains were coming, so we seeded in all the ground cover. We put in vetch and lucerne, rocket, several different types of clover, and some lupins, and now it's away. This is only 10 days later and it's already blooming. We should be able to create a sufficiently strong bed of ground cover in here that will make it much more difficult for the grass to get in, and we can start planting other things, the herb layer, the shrub layer, the berries and so forth. So within a year or two, this is going to look very, very different. One of the geniuses of Andy's approach to establishing a community food forest is that he makes it really clear you have to get the community behind you, and we did that. We held various events. We had Full House at the cinema. We did some crowdfunding to pay for Andy to actually come up to Waiheke from Otago. So by the time we got to see the council and present to them in a local board meeting, we were able to show them this is the evidence of all of the community support. We've spoken to all these different groups and we've got their support in principle, and we've had Full House at these different events. Of course, they quite naturally came behind us because they could see that this was the desire of the community. And this is about free food to public. That's the whole point of this, and to show also what can be done. So what we are hoping that will happen from this is it will inspire lots of people to replicate this on their own properties and also start thinking about sharing more. So even if they're growing on their own properties, to think about growing more than they need in order to share with each other, because ultimately, although anybody might have a fantastic garden and abundance for themselves on their ground, if their neighbour doesn't have food security, they don't have food security. We're in it together. We need to grow this together. We need to create an abundance of food for each other. So this is a community orchard transitioning to a food forest. And from here we're going to go and have a look at a food forest which is 4 years old. So it's in an early maturing phase. And what you'll see there is a great contrast with much more fullness in the ground cover and taller trees. So let's go. We've got a tropical apricot on this side and a cherimoya over here, and bananas and citrus and more banana. I mean, abundance of variety in here. I mean, I can't name all of these. There's such a variety in here. This is the non-jungle version of a food forest. So for people that are looking for something which has an aesthetic, an appealing aesthetic, and want more of a tidy food forest, this one here is about 4 years old, and what you can see is the beginnings of the layers are becoming quite evident in this. If you look around, you'll see that there are some young trees in here that are already starting to get quite large, and those ones will grow to become the canopy trees at the very top of this food forest garden. And then below that, some smaller trees, and you look around and you start seeing some of the large herbs like the globe artichokes and so forth. Some ground cover coming in. There's some lovely strawberry that's covering the ground under some of the trees here. So the whole range, all the different layers of the forest garden are in evidence here in that early maturing phase. So just 4 years old at this point. So the creator of this forest garden has used mulch, heavy mulch on the ground as a way of suppressing the grasses. And she's planted into that the various herbs and some ground covers in different places. We can see the strawberry being used as a ground cover, which is very effective. Everything is in balance. Any open field system would effectively turn back to a forest if it was allowed to. And this is about designing that intentionally and saying, okay, well, these plants work well together. So we've got loquat in here, which is well spread by the birds. You'll find these all through the bush now because the kererua are depositing them all over the countryside. We have an abundance of kererua here. They're one of the only birds that can eat these big seeds, but they're very happy to do so, and they do a great job of spreading the abundance for us. Here's one self-seeded over here. It's looking very healthy, very happy in amongst the kowhai tree there. So this might not look like a perfect fruit, but when you're picking it for yourself off your own tree and you taste the inside of that, then you get the value from it. It hasn't been sprayed, it's not been affected by fungus and pesticides and so forth. Yeah, well, I bet that actually is a delicious lemon, and I'd be quite happy to eat that one just as it is. I think that's a lemonade. That is incredible. That is amazing.